All right, so this is my lesson model for teaching students about copyright rules. I'm Christina Ocampo, and this is for Dr. Smith's Info 5720 class. So let's get started. So step one, analyze learners. So for this scenario, Mrs. Stewart's class was needing a little extra help with understanding copyright rules. I decided to go ahead and do what I'm familiar with, which is ninth grade ELA students doing internet research. The students are well versed with internet use, however, they're not well versed in the copyright laws as they are using their source material for their research project. For this particular scenario, the class has, or Miss Stewart has 85 to 100 students over over 6 class periods, both males and females. The demographic, Hispanic, African American, and Caucasian students are present. Average age is 14 to 15. There are 3 students that have IEPs for extended time, retake of assignments when needed. 5 additional students have those same IEP accommodations, but also include reading materials, asking a teacher or a special ed co-teacher to read materials out loud when asked. And amongst those 85 to 100 students, there are 10 LEP students that are at various levels of proficiency. State standards and objectives for this particular scenario of ninth graders. ELA, the particular TEKS would be 21 research and gathering, where students are determining, locating, and exploring a full range of relevant sources, addressing a research question, and systematically record the information they gather. So as they are doing that, they do need to know how to properly cite, what's fair use, and what is public domain, and always follow whatever criteria the teacher sets in place. But this would be the state standard that falls that particular lesson falls under. Selecting teaching strategies and instructional materials. This would be considered a mini lesson. Students will be taking notes since this lesson is in lecture form. So they're taking notes, they're listening to the YouTube video from the librarian that has been uploaded. Students will be able to ask questions after the lesson, and then there will be a quick mini lesson on classroom tablets for a quick formative assessment. So those are the strategies and instructional materials. Utilizing technology, materials, and media. So the librarian, that would be me. I used Google Slides for the presentation, and then I used the app Screencast-O-Matic to record myself giving the lecture. Then once I was done with that, I uploaded the video to YouTube so that the teacher can use the video for each one of her classes, especially with it being social distancing. It may not be the best scenario to have the librarian going into each and every class, or have the classes come into the library for every single class. And so I think that this will blend well with the future of what librarians can provide for their teachers on campus, for those face-to-face students, and limit those social interactions using things like Google Slides and Screencast-O-Matic. The teacher will then also be able to link that YouTube video to her Google Classroom for students to refer back to that information as needed, or for students who are absent. They can very easily go to Google Classroom and listen to the copyright lesson on YouTube. Required learner participation. So for this particular mini lesson, students will need to listen to the video, read the information, and write the lecture notes. After the video is done, students will be able to ask questions. So for an ELA classroom, we are hitting all the major components of the TEKS, the listening, reading, writing, and speaking. A short formative assessment will be conducted to ensure students were focused during the lecture, that they were, even though it's not an interactive lesson, it's more lecture, they will need to still be held accountable for their participation in listening to the lecture on the video. evaluate and revise. So for this scenario, a quick formative assessment will take place after questions have been answered. Students will use class tablets to identify 2 fair use sources and 2 public domain sources. They will create a proper citation for the fair use sources, because the emphasis is that with fair use, they need to properly and diligently give that recognition and acknowledgement to the source material, to that author or creator. Whereas with a public domain, it's not necessarily required, but if a teacher does require that proper citation, then that is something that a teacher will inform of this to the students, and then they will put that information on a Google Doc, and they will turn in their formative assessment through Google Classroom. So that is my lesson plan model for the difference between fair use and public domain copyrighted material. Thank you.